In every city, there are beautiful monuments, especially when they are closely related to people's life. And when they are forgotten, they are more beautiful. When they are erased, when nobody remembers them or talk about them, just drops of old ink on certain pages of history, a few drawings here and there, and that's all. Otherwise, total oblivion, a memory that I share today to talk about the beauty and the creativity of this thing. Today, it's a forgotten tower, yet it was one of the most beautiful buildings in the city, so that its name was strange, the Water Tower, a high tower by the river, spreading its light on the waves of the river in the evening. Some regard it as a beacon guiding ships, even though it stands by the river and not on the sea and located in the heart of the city. Others regard it as reserved for the purposes of organizations or defense. I followed it through the photos and the maps because it's curious, especially in the sense that nobody talks about it today, either in old books or in the news of memories. Completely forgotten, as if it had inadvertently fallen into oblivion. Although it towered over the largest river and was the center of everyone's attention, as if it were the new bride of the night. People were contemplating it from the cafes on the bridge, while turning its crystal lights and cast them on ships and boats arriving in town. It was here, on the edge of Al-Qata Bridge, who kept telling me its beautiful secrets, its beautiful memories, and this forgotten tower. It was here, next to Al-Wazir Mosque. Here was the tower. Today, it's only a memory. The first drawing of this tower, I found it in the map of Nasuh al-Matraqi, Bosnian Ottoman, a map drawn by this historian in 1524, a map on which he drew and identified the most important monuments of Baghdad when he participated in the campaign of the army of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent in his march on Iraq. According to Dr. Raouf, the water tower was here. That means it was here before that time. So, does it date back to Abbasid times? According to Dr. Raouf's description, a cylindrical tower surmounted by a tapering conical dome which dominates the entrance to the bridge, called, according to the 18th century sources, the Water Tower, because it was adjacent to the gate of the bridge. So it was here in the year 1524, and it was drawn by Nasuh Effendi, and it is linked to the gate of the bridge, linked to the entrance to the city, and on his map we see this beautiful high tower overlooking the river. Then we see it in the 19th century, the drawing of Chesney's voyage. When the British explorer Francis Chesney visited Baghdad in 1835, he presented us with a beautiful drawing of this tower, and this painting allows us to see more clearly and in detail the tower. We see it separate and independent and in its natural size. And next to it was Al-Wazir Mosque and its dome before it collapsed due to flooding. Then we see it in the same century in the drawing of the traveler Flandin. It can be seen through the paintings of the French Orientalist Eugène Flandin in 1840, who also painted it from many places. And next to it, the dome of Al-Wazir Mosque, which had collapsed at that time because of the flood. It's possible to contemplate it and even see its windows, even up close and in more detail, so that we can recognize its architectural form, octagon, tower, and its conical and pointed dome. And even its style is slightly different from the usual architectural style. It doesn't resemble a minaret or the domes seen in Baghdad at that time. It is connected to the bridge and to the fifth gate of Baghdad, which is rarely mentioned, perhaps because it directly overlooks the river. Some references considered it as Bouchamp Astronomical Observatory. According to some sources, Mr. Pierre-Joseph de Bouchamp, the French astronomer, occupied it where he established his astronomical instruments to observe the stars in Baghdad in 1786. And the observatory was made of brick and located in front of the bridge. It was called Observatory, attached to another building called School, Madras Khan, while other references indicate that the observatory of Bouchamp was in the monastery of the Carmelite Fathers and not near the bridge. Its objectives were sometimes scientific, sometimes military, sometimes maritime. From all this, we can discern its importance through all these periods and through the diversity of the tasks which it undertook. Despite all this important story, it leaves us quietly and in deep silence. It stood here for many centuries before disappearing quietly, without mentioning either the manner or the time of its disappearance, or even the reason. Its traces have been lost since the beginning of the 20th century, because the photos that date from the time highlight its absence and its loss. Did it disappear during the tenure of Medhat Pasha, who destroyed the city walls? In any case, the tower remains in my memory. It appears to me from time to time behind the fog of the past and oblivion. Its memory drags me and robs me like a spider wrapping its prey, controlling it like he wants. Just a tower that no one talks about, forgotten. It inadvertently fell from the memory of history, and yet it touches me, touches my ear, as if it were the beautiful voice of the singer Fairuz, slowing my movement and making me meditate on it. And the city lost its tower without question and without saying a word. And that is its fate. It's like the case of many beautiful things that disappears, and the years pass until its memory is erased and no one talks about it. Just a vague, beautiful memory that makes us smile. One of those beautiful things that lived with us and accompanied us, then disappeared from our life, from our papers, and from our memory. Their footsteps have faded without a trace, and all we can say, goodbye.